Are you there, Andrew?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I am here.
Not at all.
I am here.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
Basically, what he just to start the conversation off correctly, what he had said, unless I totally misheard it, is capitalism is responsible for ending child labor, not the 1%. Although this whole thing about 1%, I mean, it's very strange.
All right. Well, hold on for 1 second. Let's play the clip. We have the clip, and we'll
Fantastic.
we'll play the clip. This is Peter Schiff on CNN. I think he was with Cornell West.
Correct.
And this is a week or two ago, I guess. I'm not 100% sure.
Last Thursday.
Okay. And we have it. Let's play it.
It was the free market that ended child labor and working on the weekends by raising the productivity of workers.
Organized people from below, like the Occupy
No, it wasn't labor. That's a bunch of nonsense.
It was organizing from below.
That is liberal propaganda.
It was a fundraising of Upton Sinclair and others.
No, it's free market capitalism that lifted the standard of living. That's what made workers more productive, because we gave them tools. It was capitalism that created that, from savings, from investment, and all that came because we had a free country. We had limited regulation, limited government, limited taxation, and we blew it. We had a huge lead, and we blew it all because we embraced socialism.
Okay, so there you have it. You're right. He said it was the free market and free market capitalism that gave us child labor laws and the weekend. And so, we had this conversation yesterday. The sound wasn't very good. I said that's ridiculous, or something to that effect, because, in fact, it was not the free market that provided us with child labor laws. It was, in fact, government intervention into the free market, which provided us child labor laws, and you took exception with that.
Obviously, the laws themselves. A law is by definition something a government does. So yes, where did child labor laws come from? Well, that's not in dispute. They came from government. The question is whether or not the laws themselves are responsible for ending child labor, or whether the laws are really closing the barn door after the horses have already left. And I would argue that the law, the law was made possible because of the economic reality. If people needed their children to work in order to subsist, then a law would never have been passed because it wouldn't mesh with the social reality on the ground. And that's what laws basically do. I mean, the fact that we passed a law,
So let me just see if I've got what you're saying straight. You're saying that because of gains in productivity, which you attribute to free market capitalism, and for the sake of argument, I'll say okay, because of free market capitalism, that we had the luxury of passing the law, and we could afford essentially to prevent child labor.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, hold on for a second. Yeah, now let me ask you this then. Just because we have the luxury to do it, that doesn't necessarily mean that we will. I mean, for instance, in Missouri and in Maine, we have examples of just coincidentally Republicans, but it doesn't really matter at this in the context of this conversation, who are trying to repeal child labor laws. So it's not necessarily just because we have the opportunity to pass child labor laws doesn't mean that's why we did it.
I mean, look, in this country today, I mean, if you're talking about child labor law, I'm sure the law has to do with, using babysitters or using people to work on the farm, where you can allow a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old to be a babysitter or to be a farm worker. I mean, that's the reality we have on the ground now. Because we are a rich, productive society, we don't have to worry about 9-year-olds working in factories. It doesn't happen. Now, of course, it does happen in places like India, which you mentioned yesterday. Probably does happen to a lesser extent in China. And why is that happening? Well, because those countries are much poorer. They don't have anywhere near the productivity and the wealth that we have. Now at one point, 100 years ago, or 150 years ago, probably by 100 years ago, there wasn't that much. I mean, yeah, there was a lot more child labor and people had a lot of children. People had 8 or 9 children. Why did they have 8 or 9 children? Because they required the labor of the children to support the family. And that's the case today in many parts of the world. Now, fortunately, that is no longer the case.
But
the reason that
I don't think that the dispute is to whether or not we should have capitalism. I think the dispute is whether or not that without government intervention, capitalism would attempt to hire children and would
Absolutely
hire
not.
children. Well, wait a second now. Why? Why not? I mean, let's listen. By your hold on for a second. You have a problem with government intervention.
No.
Do you have a problem with?
Let me take that back. Let me take that back. I think unrestricted capitalism. Yes, you would attempt to hire. You would attempt to lower your. Well, what do the capitalists want? They want the lowest possible labor costs. Just like when you go shopping, you want the lowest possible prices. Now you have prices and weight and labor and wages are determined by the same factors. Now one of the part of the argument that Peter had at Occupy Wall Street was when I was going off about how Walmart was basically had sweatshop conditions for their workers at Walmart. Now we don't have to dispute that or not, but Peter said one of the reasons why Walmart doesn't pays low wages. And that's whether or not it's low or not. It's hard. That's all can be determined by the worker themselves. You and I can't say that wage is too low for that person because we're not in that position in those shoes. We can't make that determination. But one of the reasons.
Well, no. Wait a second. I dispute that as well because look, if we know that someone can't feed themselves or that they would not be able to function without, let's say, Medicare or Medicaid. To work for that company, or we know that there isn't the same mobility that there used to be for workers because maybe their house is underwater, maybe they're too poor to move and they have no other options, or that the Walmart has come in and because it has a larger buying power, it has been able to underprice and close out all the shops on Main Street because people are going out to the mall or whatever it is. They don't necessarily have the option. It's either that or starve.